Hello everybody, this is DeanoGTO, and this is going to be probably the first ever gameplay of a Japanese vehicle I've ever featured on the channel. And it just so happens to be the Oni, which I think is probably the worst tier 7 in the game overall. Because it is absolutely gigantic. It is, I think, taller than the mouse, to give you an idea of just how tall this damn thing is. And that's not a good thing, because that just means when people are shooting at you, they have a gigantic silhouette to shoot, and that's the thing with using a 150mm derp gun. Shit like that happens quite often. And also, the other issue is all the armor is at the front, but it isn't like VKB level armor. VKB armor is so thick that it just means that you can face directly towards the enemy with no angling at all, and you can still bounce stuff. This thing here, you need to angle the front, but the issue is side armor is trash. It really is trash. It is awful side armor. It's not worth it. It won't bounce anything. It's only 70mm, and that's nothing. But benefits of a 150mm derp right there. And the main reason why I decided to pick this thing up again and try and get through it to get to the OHO, because the OHO actually looks like it could be fun. Because the Type 4 and Type 5 are getting massive changes in 9.17.1, massive armor buffs, and 150mm derp guns. We all assume they're on 150mm derp guns at least. They could be fun. I hope to do something interesting with them in the form of like maybe give them something like, what was it I was going to do? Oh yeah, maybe give them something like 120 HE pen on their 150mm derp guns to just make them interesting, have their own niche, and like have their own kind of like specific skill to playing them, if you know what I mean. I think that would be really cool. Because the E100s, that's the AP 15cm. AP and heat 15cm. I think it would be really cool if the Japanese had their own like special HE. I know there are already high-pen HE rounds in the game already, like the RE251 and the T49, but I just feel like it would be really interesting if the Japanese got their own like unique trait with their HE rounds at the high tiers. So yeah, this thing's armor at range actually works alright. Unfortunately, this shot didn't do as well as the last one. Still did 350 damage, but nah. Not as much damage. Oh well, didn't one-shot him like I did last time. Now, you may be wondering, why do I use the 150mm over the 10cm? The main reason is I've tried the 10cm. 10cm's issue for me is that it's way too, what's the word I'm searching for? It's the gun handling on it feels horrendous. The gun handling on the 10cm I don't like at all. And the thing with the 10cm, and that was a heat round from the 59 pattern. The thing with the 10cm, it's actually 105mm, but for some reason it's called 10cm. Don't ask why, I have no idea. But the thing with the 10cm is you have to penetrate your shots to do damage. The thing with the 150mm derp is that you don't need to pen your shots, you just need to hit the target and you're going to do some damage, provided it's not T29 mantlet. So that makes it a bit more playable, a bit more consistent in terms of doing some damage. Like, and if I'm going to have a gun with crappy gun handling, I have the option for a gun that will always do some damage and sometimes will do a lot of damage, or a gun that will do some damage, or it will do a consistent amount of damage but won't do it all the time, because even if you hit the target, because it'll bounce off or something. I'm going to pick the derp gun because it can do shit like that when you fire AP, but it can also do a lot of damage with HE as well. And I feel like that's just a better option than trying to use the 10cm. 10cm I don't feel is the right option for this vehicle. At least for me, could be different for different people. But I just feel like this thing, you want to be exposed for as little time as possible, and with the 10 centimeter, you have to be exposed more often. Whereas with the 15 centimeter on this tank, you only need to be exposed for a couple seconds. You fall back and you're gone for 20 seconds, and that's something I should mention about this thing. This thing is not like the Tier 8. The Tier 8 gets like I think a 3.5 round a minute rate of fire on its 150 millimeter. This thing I think it's 2.5 or something like that. It's only a little bit better than the Tier 6, just a wee tiny bit, and it's not a great reload time, but yeah, what can you do? I still feel like this is the best gun option because the other gun just doesn't. It's not anywhere near as consistent as this gun, which is kind of weird to say because it's a derp gun. But yeah, I prefer to consistently do some damage over sometimes doing like 330 damage. I believe that's the alpha damage of the 10 centimeter. So yeah, overall, I'm not really a fan of this vehicle. It's too big, it's too slow, its armored's not good enough at all. It's pretty terribly armored, and this thing is one of those tier 7s which is considered to be kind of bad, and I would say it's completely deserving of that reputation. And here is another reason why I like the HE rounds. HE rounds don't give a shit about your armor. If it's angled, it doesn't give a shit about your armor angling. I think the only time armor angling really affects HE is if you have, say, 40 millimeters of armor on your side and front, and you angle at 45 degrees. Then sometimes you can bounce HE rounds or like absorb HE rounds instead of getting penned by them. So yeah. So overall, my opinion on this vehicle is it's too big, it's too slow, its armor's nowhere near good enough. This thing's armor works versus some tier 6s, and that's about it. And things like the Cromwell rip this thing. Like, this thing cannot react to small, fast, mediums. They just eradicate these things. Like, there is no way for you to really deal with them, because you may have 10 degrees of gun depression over the sides. I'm going to get to the front in a minute. You may have 10 degrees of gun depression to the side, but this thing is so tall that most medium tanks can just kind of sit here. You can just sit on your side, and you cannot do anything about them unless you can like get up to a wall and kind of like scrape them off. And even then, they can get to your back, and you still can't shoot them. Well, most of the time, unless they're relatively tall medium, like some of the Germans. But yeah, this thing here, for me, it's not that fun of a machine, and the only real reason why I'm playing it is because the Japanese are getting some changes. I feel like that could make them pretty interesting. But yeah, onto the frontal gun depression. Here is one of my main issues with this vehicle. It has, I believe it's 10 degree gun depression to the front. But you know what it is? It's literally this tiny little area here. And if you haven't noticed, the gun is about as wide as this gap. And that's a tiny ass gap. The gun, you can depress it to there, but only there. I think it's like a 1 degree arc. It's not, I wouldn't even call it arc. It's like a 1 degree area where you can get 10 degrees gun depression. And if you go 1 degree left or 1 degree right, your gun depression goes like 4 or 5 degrees or something like that there. It's insane. The gun depression to the front of this thing is so inconsistent. It's so frustrating. And you might be thinking, oh yeah, the fix to this is clearly you just go around with your side. Just like use the gun depression over the side. But this is where the shitty side armor comes into play. This thing having crappy ass side armor is such a... It makes this thing way more difficult to play than it needed to be. This thing should have had, I reckon, 100 millimeters of side armor easily at least 100 millimeters side armor, with down here having, say, 50 behind the side skirts, and this would be 20 and tracks probably 30, so it would still be equivalent to 100 millimeters. But if you could avoid hitting the tracks, it'd be equivalent to like 70 or 80 or something like that. So yeah, it still wouldn't easily kill, but at least it could have side scraped to an extent. Whereas now, right now, 70 millimeters of side armor, you can't side scrape with that. You really can't. Especially with the way the turret is mounted on this thing. You need to angle it in such a way that Like you need to angle it about this far in order to really side scrape, or in order to get your gun pointed at the enemy. But when you're side scraping, you need about this angle in order to be able to bounce anything. So it's just such an awkward tank to play. And I am looking forward to the tier 8, but this thing's a ball ache to play. It really is. And but the one thing I can say about it is at least it looks kinda cool. It does look kinda cool, and I think this is the last fully historical, like actual design that the Japanese came up with for Japanese heavies. Like I think this is the last real design. The Oh-Ho, I'm not sure, but I think that thing's fake. But Tier 9 and 10 I know are fake. Um, but yeah, it is cool to have such a huge vehicle at Tier 7, but it's too slow. Its top speed's horrific. It's 50 tons lighter than the OI, but it's 4 kilometers an hour slower. Does that make sense in some way? I have no idea. It's just so weird. But yeah, time to go on to the post game stats. Okay, so we are on to the post game stats now. In this game, I managed to get an ace tanker, high caliber, and a steel wall. Well, the steel wall kind of makes sense. The high caliber, though, I didn't expect in the slightest. And as you can tell from like the little thing at the bottom of the ace tanker, this was my first ever ace tanker in this vehicle. And I don't even think I ever managed to get a second, or not a second, a first class mastery in this vehicle because I just sucked. I suck in this thing. I'm not gonna lie. I am not very good in this vehicle at all. I'm playing it to get to the tier 8, and that's about it. I did get a reasonably good game out of it though. I got 1500 base XP game. Now, if you get that in the tier 7, that's a pretty damn nice score. Like I don't get the kind of scores I got there too often. I think the highest score I've ever gotten that I can actually remember the game was the Chinese IS2. I think that was actually my highest ever like base XP ever. Like I think it was 1800 or 1900 base XP. It was insane. Like the amount of XP I got in that game was mental. But yeah, unfortunately it wasn't that exciting to watch. It was more or less me just taking advantage of my team in terms of like they did things and I would just get the damage whenever they were distracting the enemies, and I was just getting the damage and getting the damage, getting the damage, and I just racked up a shit ton of damage. But yeah, I got distracted, as I do fairly often. But yeah, did come top of the team because 1500 base XP. And second place was a T21, so well played to that guy because the T21 not the easiest light tank ever to play. Not like that machine I struggled with for quite a while, but I actually think I preferred that vehicle over the T37. Something about the T37 I just didn't like at all. I'm not sure what it was, but yeah. So overall, I think that was a pretty decent game, and as I said in the gameplay that I think I said in the gameplay, I do think that the 15 centimeter is the way to go for this vehicle, but your mileage may vary in terms of playing this vehicle. Would I recommend this line to players? I don't think so. I think this line is more for people who are. I don't think this is a very newbie friendly line because, well, you have to have. What's the word I'm searching for? You have to have a lot of patience to grind this kind of line. And when you're a new player, you're more interested in some speed, some action, some like intense fighting and stuff like that there. But you don't really get that with these vehicles. These vehicles are very, very, very like slow with the way they do everything. Everything that you do in a Japanese heavy feels slow and feels like very time consuming because they're all very slow vehicles with very, very long reloads. So it takes a really long time for them to do anything that you want them to do. Like it's just the right time consuming vehicles to play. They're kind of like the 1085 line, but not on the same level. Like at least these things have turrets and they have derp guns and shit. So yeah. This vehicle, not a giant fan of it. As I think I've said this a couple of times now, I'm probably going to get the tier 8 and sell this thing immediately because I just do not like it very much at all. I'm not going to do a review on it because I feel like I've pretty much summed up the entirety of this vehicle in this video. So yeah. And actually, looking at the enemy team, they did not do very well at all in this game. Holy crap! Like the highest scoring enemy player was that 59 pattern spamming heat at me. So yeah. And also, I think this thing's frontal armor is 175 or 190, something like that. That's part of the reason why this thing's armor sucks. Because it has practically no angling at all. And it's basically, you're basically playing a Tiger 1 with what's the word I'm looking for, with more armor bolted onto the front. It's basically like playing a Tiger P, which is slower and has a less good gun. If that makes sense. So yeah, and has basically doubled in size. I think this thing is actually not far off double the size of a Tiger P. Tiger P is not small. So yeah. And yes, if you're wondering why I have 3072 XP in the battle results, that's because I was using a personal reserve, which doubled my XP income for every game I played. And yeah, that's pretty much everything I have to talk about in this video. But I do want to mention one last thing. If you're curious about the armor upgrades on both the tier 9 and the tier 10 Japanese heavy tanks, Google either Rita's status report or the armor patrol and Japanese heavies or type 4 and type 5 heavies, something like that there, and you'll probably find it pretty easily. The buffs are pretty massive, honestly. Um, I do worry about it a little bit because I'm not sure if it'll be a overall buff for them or overall nerf for them because more people are just gonna spam premium ammunition at them. It's kind of the same situation with the buff for the mouse. I'm not sure how that'll play out, but I guess only time will tell really. So yeah, I think that is pretty much everything I have to say about this in this video. So yeah, thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one.